Welcome to the Life Leadership Podcast with myself, Leila Singh, all things coaching, career, and personal branding. This podcast is for ambitious career professionals like you, wanting to create a life of choice and freedom, to be, do, and have more through overcoming limitations, to develop new perspectives and insights, and to redefine your success, be that in work, health, relationships, and so much more. Hi there, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are watching from in the world today. My name is Leila Singh and I'm an executive career and personal brand coach. And I coach aspiring execs, typically in the technology industry, to overcome their limitations so that they can uncover their real potential and create new possibilities for themselves, all whilst showing up as the best version of themselves, what I call life leadership. So what is the topic today? Well, the question to ask yourself is, are you happy or just comfortable? The question becomes, why step out of your comfort zone? So why bother? Because our comfort zone can be a beautiful place. It can be a place that feels familiar. There's an element of certainty within that environment. There's that knowing your day-to-day, of what it's like, what to expect, all that good stuff. So it's a really beautiful place. But here's the thing, nothing ever grows there. And that's the important thing to remember. What do I mean here is that if you're really happy being comfortable in that beautiful place of familiarity, of certainty, of knowing, and accepting that nothing ever grows there, then that's okay. However, if you're feeling that right now in your life, you're not happy, whether it's one aspect of your life or every area of your life that you want to see change, then today's session is for you. So listen up. Here's the thing. When we step out of our comfort zone, it really is where the magic happens. It's not just a pretty quote on a meme on social media. It is true. It is where the magic happens. Life becomes exciting. It's here that you get to evolve. It's your next level of evolution. And it is pivotal for your growth to be able to step outside of your comfort zone. Is it hard? Of course it's hard. If it was easy, we'd all be doing this. It's perhaps the biggest challenge that you'll face is stepping away from everything you know and doing something different. But here's the thing with that. It means that you get to create change in your life. And inevitably, there will be significantly positive aspects of change that you will get to experience, whether it's in your own personal and professional growth, whether it's in character building, maybe it's you simply becoming even stronger in yourself and the way that you're showing up in the world. It will stretch you beyond what you already know. And the biggest rewards ultimately are here. They're in that place where the magic happens. In other words, outside of everything that feels comfortable. And remember, when we were born, when we were babies and we started to crawl around and explore, everything was new. Everything was a discovery. And there was no comfort. It was just everything is new. It's a challenge, learning to walk, learning to talk. It all becomes a challenge. So why is it, as we're adults, that we shy away from it, that we have these fears that show up and the anxiety and that almost shying away from taking risks of trying new things? And I see so many people who do this, and yet they're not happy. But the fear is bigger than being happy. So they'll stay in that comfort zone, that place, that beautiful place of familiarity and what they believe is certainty, until something outside of their control rocks their world, something that they had no control over. And if you've joined me on these lives before, I talk about recognizing that we have so much more control over our lives than we realize. That's a separate topic. That's not for today. But today I want you to really consider, are you staying put Are you not taking action? Are you not creating change because you're in a beautiful place of familiarity, of certainty, of knowing? And yet potentially missing out on so much more that life has to offer. And this isn't to say that where you're at right now is wrong. It's a question for you to answer, is whether where you are right now is fulfilling you, it's satisfying you, it's enabling you to grow, to transform, to evolve. And if it's not, and you're happy with that, then that's okay. But if you find yourself wanting more in life, wanting to feel more fulfilled, more happy and satisfied, then it really is time for you to seriously consider taking that big step. The step into the unknown, into that world of uncertainty, to take those risks and to face your fears. And taking the risks and facing those fears, the question that inevitably comes up in everybody's mind is, but what if? And here's what I invite you to do if this is you. If the question that comes up for you is, what if? How are you going to end that question? How are you going to end that sentence? Is it, well, what if it doesn't work? What if I fail? What if this happens? What if that happens? How about, what if this works? How about you change the question that you're asking yourself and look at it a different way? What if this was to work? What if I was to be successful? What would happen then? What would change in my life? What would change in my world? What would change for people around me? And that's what I want you to slow down to, because our brains, for some reason, are programmed to automatically go towards the things that can go wrong, the what ifs, the what if it doesn't work, it fails, or people laugh at me, or I'm not successful, etc., etc. And we all know that all those people in the world who are hugely successful have tried over and over again. They have failed. Things haven't worked. But that failure was a learning. It wasn't a, I'm giving up and I'm staying put. It's like, okay, how can I do this even better or differently to get the result that I'm after? And you can do the exact same thing. And keep asking yourself the question, what if this works? What does that mean? So think about areas where you're shying away from taking risks. Maybe it's in a current job change or even a career change, pivoting to something new. And you're holding back, you're staying put because you are fearful of taking that risk of what if it doesn't work out? Well, what if it does? Imagine that. Focus on the outcome you want, not on the outcome you're trying to avoid. And you might be thinking, well, who am I to sit here and speak to you about this? I've done it repeatedly throughout my life, consistently. And I'll give you a couple of examples here today. I've changed role. I've pivoted to something new. Back then, we didn't use the term pivot, but that's what I did. I spent most of my education studying, training to qualify as an accountant. And then I pivoted to something new. I went into recruitment. I took a huge risk. I took a 50% pay cut. I went into a sales role, something I had no experience of. And yet, it worked. It worked. And I earned back that money in commissions. So actually, the overall impact was better than had I stayed put where I was. And I had multiple reasons for doing that, which I've talked about here previously. And that's not the topic for today. But the point is, I took that risk. I took another risk to move into a new industry, the tech industry, into a corporate finance role. Again, something I had no knowledge, no experience of. And figured I'd make it work somehow. And what if it didn't? Actually, you know what? I don't even think that thought entered my mind. And so I invite you to really look at where you're at right now. And if you're not satisfied, if you're not happy, if you're not feeling fulfilled, it's what is the risk that you're prepared to take? What if that risk paid off for you tenfold, more than you ever imagined. For me, again, I moved from corporate finance into a sales exec role, something new again. There were some similarities to recruitment, of course. It was a whole new ball game for me. I had to figure it out and learn. And we can all do that if we want it enough and if we apply ourselves. And guess what? Until today, I will always say, you'll never know what you're truly capable of until you put yourself out there, outside of that comfort zone, because I'm a walking example of that. I've done it multiple times. I chose to leave my corporate career and set up my own coaching practice. It's another risk I've taken. And yes, of course, there was a part of me that was like, oh my God, what if this doesn't work? What if? Actually, the what if then became, well, okay, if it didn't work or if I didn't enjoy it, I can go and get a job. I'll go back and I'll apply for roles, and I knew something would come up. And that's okay. There are always options for us. But is it better to at least give it a go, to take that step in the direction of what you really want, or to try something new, than to live with regret? It's one of the worst things, is to end up 10, 20, 30 years on reflecting back on those missed opportunities and those regrets of the risks that you didn't take, the choices that you made. So my invitation today is for you to really start to think about what is it you truly want and how happy are you right now where you are. So I've talked about risks. The other thing is facing your fears. And again, it's that what if. Public speaking is a great one because so many people have a huge fear of public speaking. But guess what? Even the great public speakers that you see out there have probably all, if not 99% of them, have had a fear of public speaking before they got up on that stage or before they started to become a public speaker, to train. People are overcoming their fears all of the time if they really want to. I did. For years in my career, I used to absolutely dread public speaking. I feel physically sick the night before. I'd be desperately trying to memorize my presentation so that I could just regurgitate it and be able to sit down as quickly as possible. I didn't want to be stood there in front of people talking to them. So I try and just memorize it so I could just regurgitate it back out and then hide. Yet now, I've worked on overcoming the fears around that. I've worked on developing my skill so that now if I'm invited to speak, it's not a problem. And we can all do that. We can all do that if we want it, if we're prepared to face our fears. There is so much more that is achievable, that is possible for you, that can completely elevate your potential if you allow it. Because only you are the person that puts up those limitations and those barriers around you through your fears, your beliefs, your stories, and the what ifs. And that's what limits you, and that's what holds you back. And what can you do differently? It's to create a different narrative for yourself about the way that you talk to yourself and change those what ifs to what's possible. I've faced a number of fears. The most recent one, which was just a few months ago, was my fear of water, of being in the sea, in the ocean. And I did scuba diving. I went scuba diving. I was crying. I'm not going to lie. I was absolutely mortified. But I did it. And I never ever would have believed that I'd be able to actually experience the whole new world of life below sea level. It was absolutely stunning. It was never even in my radar that I'd ever do it, because it was always a no, I'm scared of water, I'm not doing it. Early on in my personal growth journey, I did a lot of work with Tony Robbins and some of his events, and the very first event I attended of his was UPW. And in that, you had the opportunity to walk across hot coals. And I attended that with absolutely no intention of walking across hot coals. But guess what? I did. I was like, wow, I didn't burn my feet. Then a year later, when I was working through my master practitioner training for neuro-linguistic programming, we had the opportunity to walk over broken glass. And I said, no way. I've done the coals. That's enough. I am not walking across broken glass. And again, I'm not going to lie. There were tears. I was absolutely breaking it. And I did it. And imagine how that felt. Imagine if that was you, how you'd feel with that accomplishment, without a scratch, being able to look back at that path of broken glass that had been laid down. Say, yeah, I walked over that, because that's how powerful my mind is. That's how powerful I am. And I can do this. Imagine what more is possible for me. So imagine for you the feeling that you get to experience when you face your fears and overcome them. How would it make you feel? Think about your biggest fear. What would it be for you? What would it mean for you to be able to overcome that? Whether it is walking across glass or hot coals or it's public speaking. What is it for you? Because, you know, when it comes to stepping outside our comfort zone and taking those baby steps, it's about wanting change. Because when we do that, we get to grow, we get to transform. And it's the biggest step we can take towards that change, towards the growth, towards transformation. And it is incredibly satisfying. It's incredibly fulfilling. And it's where you get to experience real success, internal personal success, and a whole new world of possibilities. And here's the thing, you can choose to take that step. It can be a baby step outside of your comfort zone. Face your fears, take risks, try something new, and get to realize what you are truly capable of, the power within you. Or you can stay where you are in that beautiful place of familiarity, of certainty, and of knowing, and run the risk of becoming stagnant, of finding yourself plodding through life or drifting. And worst case, living a life of regret. So where can you begin to step outside of your comfort zone? Here are some things that you can start to do to take those steps. If you're somebody who's wanting to experience change in your life, whether it is in your career or in your broader life, another area of your life perhaps, start by identifying the missed opportunities. What are the things you didn't do that you missed out on because of fear, because of taking that risk and wanting to stay comfortable? What are the things that you've thought about, that you've wanted to do, that you kind of, yeah, I wouldn't mind trying that out, but yet you've not done them? Start to make lists, because when you write these things down, it really reinforces what's going on for you. It's great to have it in your head and say, yeah, I know I did this and I did that, but actually write it down and look at it, read it, is much more impactful. And then ask yourself, why have you missed out? Why have you not taken action? What was it that stopped you? Identify that and then challenge those beliefs and those stories around them. Maybe it was that fear, that story that you're not good enough, you're not ready, you'll never be taken seriously, what's happened before and that's going to happen again. They're stories. The answer is always going to be no. Nothing's going to change if we don't take that first step. And once you've done that, ask yourself, what has been the opportunity cost? In other words, what has been the impact of not taking those actions, the things that you've thought about or considered, and the opportunity cost of those missed out opportunities, maybe things that you were offered but you chose to decline because they felt scary, they felt like the unknown. What has been the opportunity cost for you? And now think about, what would it mean if you were to take that step? How would you feel with it being a successful step? How would you feel? What would you be saying? to yourself, much less other people, but what would you be saying to yourself? How proud would you be? How strong and powerful would you feel? And accomplished? And how would you see yourself? Would you see yourself differently? What would change? And what would be the longer term impact in the future, whether that's for you alone or for people around you? There's a quote, I believe it's an anonymous quote that I spotted a while back, and it was something along the lines of, the comfort zone is nothing else but a graveyard for your dreams and your ideas. To realize those dreams and those ideas means taking those steps, taking the risks, facing your fears. So if you are someone who wants change in your life, you want to grow, you want to experience transformation, and to feel that you're living a life that is satisfying and that's fulfilling, that is success on a whole new level, and being able to discover a world of possibilities, then I strongly invite you to consider taking those steps. And yes, it will be uncomfortable. Of course it will. And that is where the growth happens. That is where the magic happens. Or instead, are you going to choose to stay stagnant, to drift through life, and run the risk of living a life of regret? My invitation to you is to discover what you are truly capable of. And believe me, it will be more than you ever thought possible. So that is my invitation for you today. Any questions, let me know in the comments. Also, let me know what resonates for you. What actions are you going to take today? What steps do you need to make to be able to take that step outside of what is feeling comfortable right now, so that you get to experience real, true happiness and fulfillment? Thank you for listening. Please subscribe to this podcast if you haven't already done so. And if you enjoyed and gained value from today's episode, then do please leave a review telling us your key learnings and what you enjoyed the most. And do please share this podcast with your friends and colleagues so we can spread the word on life leadership, creating a life of choice, freedom, and new possibilities. Connect with me directly on LinkedIn, and if you would like to learn more about how we can work together, either DM me on LinkedIn or email.